What if I reverse time to see what happened at the beginning of time itself?
Wind back the clock.
Wind back the clock.
Keep going.
A look at the relationship between the famous physicist Stephen Hawking and his wife. This is Theory of Everything. And tell us a little bit about the little premise here.
Well, we're in award season, right? So we're getting to those movies that can be a little divisive. You know, movies that critics love but audiences don't get, and all that kind of stuff happens. And so I thought we'd take a look at a couple. This one I think is really well done. Eddie Redmayne plays Stephen Hawking, and he does a really good job at it. The problem with a lot of these movies, and this one basically follows Stephen Hawking's life, and kind of based on the love relationship he had with his wife. And the thing about this is, in the pacing of a lot of these, is they're so slow. And I think for me, it just took a while to get there in many ways, even though like the acting and certainly the concept and the story are very interesting, it just takes a while to get there.
Yeah. So it's based on, I mean, is it true?
Yeah, it's the true life story of Stephen Hawking. So what's interesting about Redmayne's performance here is not only does he have to capture kind of the genius of this man, which by the way, a lot of really complex theories in science and, you know, physics and all that kind of stuff, but he also has to capture the health and decline in health of this person who, you know, originally was told they only had a couple years to live, and, you know, of course has lived a long and fruitful life even despite of his disease. So it's a really interesting, engaging, and compelling story. I'm just not sure the pacing was enough to kind of keep interested in kind of those down moments.
Right. That's actually how Abraham Lincoln was for me.
Yeah, in a
I
lot
love
of true
the true
stories. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
true movies, but if it, let's get to it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I think for this one, the performance is good enough that it keeps you into it more than some of those others. The same for Lincoln, by the way. That performance was incredible.
Yes, it was good.
And you'll see that in a lot of these movies, but you know, overall, just a little bit slow.
Okay, so on this one, give us your best, worst, and final grade about it.
Best thing I said, life science, and what I mean by that is this man's life was really, really interesting. Worst thing I said, relatively boring, and that's what I talk about. The pace just kind of slows down a little bit. Still pretty good. I said overall, that says B-. I'd actually probably give it a B.
B.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is Birdman. A washed-up actor who once played an iconic superhero must overcome his ego and his family trouble as he mounts a Broadway play in a bid to reclaim his glory.
Yeah, Michael Keaton getting back in the spotlight and kind of taking the starring role in this. It's interesting when you look at this because there are so many echoes of Michael Keaton's actual life and career in here. You know, the idea that he played Batman. He was the first Batman, and here he plays this iconic superhero called Birdman, you know? So it's kind of interesting how all that echoes. And that's a lot of the interesting part of this movie is the conceptual metaphor that's kind of lingering underneath.
Right.
Also genius in this movie, the way they filmed and shot this. Most of this movie is as if it's one take. So it moves from scene to scene with the camera. There aren't any cuts like you usually see in movies. And what's interesting is
what is going on right there? what is this that we're looking at?
That is part, we'll get to that. That is part of what makes this maybe a little offsetting and a little weird as a movie. But I did want to say that it goes through time and space as one cut. So even though you never, you know, break from the action, time progresses, which is a really interesting kind of concept to deal with. And again, plays to the metaphor of what's going on in this person's life as they deal with what fame means to them and what the spotlight means and kind of all that stuff. Now, that shot that you saw, that you were kind of curious about and interesting, that's the weird part about this movie. And I think it's one of those things that some members of the audience will go, what is going on here? What is this? Because honestly, it's never really explained, but it's part of the metaphor that kind of lingers underneath about, you know, what it means to be kind of in the spotlight and pursue fame, and all of that is still there.
The girl was on Jimmy Fallon the other night. She's very good.
Yeah. Well, this cast is very good. Keira Knightley's in a different one, but you know, I'm sure it's slipping me right now. But you know, Michael Keaton's good in this.
I do like
Zach Galifianakis is really good in this. So there's a lot of good performances. Emma Stone. Yes. Oh, I thought you were talking about the other woman. Oh yeah, no, Emma Stone is phenomenal in this as his daughter, and has a really a couple great scenes as well.
All right, so final grade on this one?
Yeah, I said best thing was Bird Brain. It's very smart. Worst thing I said tail feathers. It kind of flourishes a little bit too much. Overall, though, still a really good movie. I said an A-.
All right. A-, your movie for an Aaron Dyson. More reviews from him at ky3.com. When we come back, Jeremy Ray finishing up some festive wreaths for Christmas. You won't want to miss it. Stay with us.